All right, we're back with the IS350, our new Lexus, and we have a couple of things that we're going to show you how to do today with your new car. We bought the floor mats that go in the front, and we bought a cargo net that goes in the trunk. Problem is, you actually have to do a couple of things with that cargo net to get it to install. We're going to show you how to do it. All right, so the first thing, of course, we got to do, open our trunk. Part number that we went with is the Lexus Hideaway Net. It is part number PT347-53210. Okay, this is the cargo net. It comes in a bag, and it actually goes back into this bag for storage if you're not using it and don't need it to keep it out of your way. Now, there's a zipper top. It secures to the floor, and it comes up out of this bag. Face it the right direction. Label here, Lexus logo goes to the rear. There's two clips, I'll show you where they are, that are on the floor, and you have two hooks at the top right here, two loops. Well, those two loops need to be secured here and here on your trunk, and they require that you go in with a hardware kit that comes with the cargo net right here. So we're going to have to take a couple of things apart on the inside of the trunk, nothing really to it, and install these two loops. So let's get you in a little bit closer and talk about it a little more, and I'll show you. Also, what I wanted to bring attention to is you can get this information on how to install this, if you would like, a couple of different places. Right here on this bag, you see it says, attention, the installation instructions for this accessory yada 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 are available on the electronic Toyota information system. Please see your Toyota dealer for a copy. You should be able to go into the parts department or maybe even the service department if you want to do this yourself, and they can print you out a copy of the instructions on how to do what we're fixing to do. I got online and I Googled, and let me look at it real quick on my phone. It was clublexus.com. I did a little Googling, or actually my wife did a little Googling. She beat me to the punch, and she got the actual TIS instructions. Somebody had posted them on the clublexus.com information page, and I will provide a link to that. It is for the 21 Lexus IS350, I believe. I don't believe the model has changed. All that information, everything in the instructions looks exactly the same. So I was getting ready to do this video and went through and looked, and like I said, everything looks the same. You're going to need to get you a plastic pry tool. They sell these at Harbor Freight. They're really cheap. Get them on tool truck, wherever. And because you're going to need them to pop the buttons out, and you don't want to use anything. You can use a flathead screwdriver, don't get me wrong, but just be careful if you do, because you're going to need to pop the heads up on these buttons, and then they pull right out. You pry, let me show you, I can show you up close how it works. You get up underneath it right there, and you pry up. Hopefully you saw how that worked. Let's do it again to make sure we caught the shot. See, just pry it up, and once that comes out, it lets that part squeeze in, and the whole thing comes out. All right, you're only gonna reinstall two of these, and two of them it says to discard. I don't generally discard any of my hardware. I kind of hang on to it because you never know if one of these gets broke loading something in and out of the trunk. Well, you have the one that was right here that is supposed to be disposed of. You'll have it to replace the one that you broke. Now, should be able to gently pry this back. Yes, okay. And this is exactly what I thought, the way I thought it would be. In the TIS instructions, it tells you to pull this gasket away. There's zero need to pull this gasket away, and that's kind of what I thought when I looked at the picture, that there would be no need to pull the gasket away. You can get access to that right there. That is where the slip nut installs. Let me get this. Well, my bag just tore up. Don't matter, rip into it. All right. Like I said, there's your hook piece. There is your slip nut right there. Let's bring you in really close so you can see what I'm doing. Nothing to it. I'm going to carefully peel that out of the way, hands out of the way, pull that down. This just simply slides on right there, and it provides the threads that are needed for this to screw in. You have to kind of wiggle it around to get it to line up. Let's Doing peeky poo in there. There we go. Just gently, and make sure you don't cross thread it. If it doesn't really easily start threading in there, don't force it. Alright, now we're going to take our plastic trim tool. You may need it to kind of help tuck. See, I'm just kind of working this piece back down in there to get that. There it goes, because the carpeted trunk liner goes underneath that gasket. You don't have to get brutally tight, you just want to snug it down. Alright, now we're going to take a couple of our buttons. See, it just slides back in the hole, and then you take the locket, click, that's it. And now it's locked in place, and we'll need to do that right here. Let's see, kind of have to fiddle with it just a little bit to make sure the carpet and the holes line back up, and there you go, it's lined up. Alright, so I'm going to do that over here on the driver's side off camera and go ahead and get this ready, and I'll bring you back as soon as I'm ready to actually do the physical install of this net. I went ahead and pulled the extra floor mat I had in here. It's an aftermarket piece, kind of a spill mat, and I wanted to lift up the spare tire area, and I want to show you. You remember them two little plastic push tabs, push pins? Well, I'm going to keep them like I said. And so, well, where are you going to keep them? And then go, well, I've lost them. I don't know what I did with them. Well, you can put them in your trunk. There's a place in around your spare tire. You can see that little plastic bag. I tucked it down inside that little hole right there. Let her rip. Alright, so we can put our spare tire cover. You let this end droop a little bit, let it fall back into place, and then you take and push with your thumb, and it locks in place. Alright, so let's get in here and we'll talk about the hooks that are made into the vehicle, and show you how they work, and we'll install this thing. Alright, so let's go ahead and set this in here, and I was going to show you one of the warnings that they put on here, and it says the object restrained not to exceed 30 pounds. Okay, so it does have a weight restriction. They want you to stay under 30 pounds. It's not designed to, you know, hold a full-size suitcase loaded with luggage. It's just for small items you don't want rolling around in your trunk. Now, over here on the right and over there on the left, you'll see these flip-up hooks. Simply flip them to the up position, and you can actually feel there's two positions. It locks there, and then you flip it all the way up and it locks. In the bottom of your bag are hooks. Make sure your bag is facing the correct direction, and you'll just want to snap. Here it snap in place, and come over here. And it's got a little of elastic feel to it. There you go, and then it snaps in place. And we'll do this one over here first on the driver's side. Simply hooks around the loop like that, and it's the same exact thing over here on the passenger side, and it is pretty taut. It is more taut than I expected. And if you have loaded your bag, flip around to the center, and if you have loaded your cargo net to where it is really open, you can actually secure the top like that with the Lexus logo. It has another loop right here that will clasp over the top stretchy elastic. You can see me picking it up right there, and help keeps the bag closed. So, last thing is we want to close the trunk and make sure that these are angled in the right direction and do not interfere with anything over the trunk closing. Alright, let's take a look and make sure our trunk will close. Let's go down slowly. Doesn't feel to be dragging. Nope, feels okay. Well, I don't see anything interfering. So, what do you do when you don't need your cargo net? You simply undo it from your loops. Carefully stow it in its bag that sits on the floor. Just tuck it back down inside the bag. And zip the bag up, and it just neatly sits on the floor. And if you need to get it out of there, it's just a couple of little clip snaps and it will come out. All right, so now that we have the cargo net installed in the trunk, we're going to go up front here, and I may actually back the vehicle out so we have a little more light and a little more room to work. And we're going to talk about the all-weather floor mats for your Lexus IS. And I've also got an interesting story to go along with these floor mats. Before we get in here and start talking about these floor mats for this IS350, I thought it'd be good to go back and let's talk a little bit of history. And you're saying, what kind of history can you have with floor mats? You put them in the car, they protect your carpet, you move on. This is a little bit different story. This story actually cost Toyota Corporation 1.2 or it was either 1.2 or 1.3 billion dollars because of what they did. So back in December of 2009 kind of was the pinnacle and the final straw that broke the camel's back with the floor mats on Toyota Lexus cars. So I'm not going to go into great detail about what happened and all the ins and outs, but I'm going to give you a quick 30,000 foot flyover of what cost Toyota Corporation that $1.2 billion. And everything kind of came to a head in December of 2009 when a customer had gone into a Lexus dealer out in California, and they had gotten a loaner vehicle. Well, on that loaner vehicle was an IS350, I think is what they said in the report, and they had taken and installed all-weather floor mats and had given this car out as a loaner to somebody who brought their vehicle in to get to work. Well, out there somewhere in California, it was a death of a major part of a family. It was four people got killed, and it was simply due to a floor mat had the accelerator pedal hung to the floor. They had actually got on the phone. They were on the phone with 911, and they were saying, we can't stop the car. The brakes won't stop the car. The car's still accelerating, and they were going over 100 miles an hour. Came into an intersection, crashed, and well, they perished. And during the investigation, since they had that 911 call, that the car wouldn't stop, and they couldn't get it, it was just accelerating on its own, they really looked into the investigating why. Well, the all-weather mat apparently was holding the accelerator pedal pinned to the floor, and the brakes weren't enough to overcome it. So that's what caused the crash. And this goes back to another point that Toyota Lexus Corporation was having problems with a sticky accelerator pedal, which was a separate issue on its own. They had problems with some accelerator pedals. So the big deal here with Toyota Lexus was, and to get to the point, is that the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, you've probably heard that before, NHTSA, in their investigation, they were able to uncover and were able to prove and were able to find out that Toyota had actually knew about this problem about at least a year, if not maybe 2 years prior to this crash happening, and they could have done something about it, but it was going to cost them, I forget, it was several $1 million to correct the problem, and they chose not to. They chose to cover it up. They did some things that to change the way it looked when they made the report to the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. So some dirty things were done. And all that information that I just gave you, I got from a press release from the Justice Department. So now let's get in here and we'll talk about the floor mats for this IS350. So the reason I went ahead and talked about that story is when I got these floor mats out of the box, and this is kind of what cued me to remind me about the floor mat problem, was in the box, lay that floor mat down, was this huge warning. It's in 2 different languages, but it's secure. Your floor mats should be secured with the grommets, da 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 da. It says always make sure that they're secure. And the other thing I found curious is everywhere you look on Toyota and Lexus, I'm not going to say everywhere you look, but a lot of their documentation, there's some note in somewhere where they have slipped in, check and secure the floor mats. Make sure your floor mats are secure. Check and secure floor mat. And, I never knew that it cost Toyota Lexus Corporation $1.2 billion. And on top of that, they had a settlement to the family that died out in California that got released. And it said they paid that family $10 million. That was separate and above the $1.2 billion that they were fined by the government for lying. So, all right. Now, I'm going to change camera angles and move you in a little closer. And I think you have a good angle there. I'm going to do my best to stay out of your way, and hopefully you'll be out of mine. These floor mats are needed, as you can see. The help protect your vehicle. And you can see how dirty these are. I'm going to need to run the vacuum on them. But as far as how they lock, it's really simple little system. This little latch that is facing this way, you turn it 90 degrees and face it that way. Turn it 90 degrees, face it that way, and it just lifts out. And I'm going to try to do this without sprinkling dirt all over the carpet of the vehicle. Set that to the side. And you grab your new mat, which is form fit. Ooh, got a piece of grass on it already. Get off of there. It's almost like it's... And it is, I bet, static clinging. It is. The dry grass that is on this mat, because this is rubber, it's actually attracted to it. So these are form fit directly, or a direct fit for the IS350. And it says on this warning tag, which is right here, it tells you very plainly, do not try to fit these in any other vehicle. And if you don't know if you saw what I did, otherwise that yellow tag sticks up. I'm going to leave it on the mat, but gently tucked up underneath so that it's not seen. And you turn the tabs and make sure that the mat is secured under them. Give it a little pull, okay? And that is all there is to it. And there is your installed Lexus IS mats in a 350. Now I'm going to go around and install the mats in the other 3 positions of the vehicle, and I'll be back in a second. You may ask yourself, what did you pay for these mats? And so, from the Lexus dealer, for the 4 all-weather floor mats, they were $257, and this is December of 2024. And the special order, she had to special order the cargo net, and that was $90.68, and that is before tax, of course. All right, so I've got one more invoice here for one more item we had to buy. It's for a bottle of touch-up paint. That's going to be our next video. Yep, we got our first scratch that we got to fix. So while we're getting ready to shoot that video, why don't you watch another one coming on the screen right now?